great challenge, obviously, ahead for us. Got a chance to really dive into UConn the last couple days. I don't know if 8's high enough, to be honest. They're really good. They got all the ingredients you need to be a national championship contender, and so to easily be one of the best teams that, certainly the best team we played this year, but maybe one of the best teams that I've coached against when I look at watch them play.
Why do you say that?
They shoot it well. They got great size at every position. They got experience. They play really hard, and they've done a really nice job of having some great balance in their games. Tristan Newton jumps up and makes 8 threes in the game. Next game, you still got to deal with Adama Sanogo, and then Andre Jackson just coming back. Jordan Hawkins is, I think, a pro. I really believe that. I watched that kid play since he was in high school. And so you got great perimeter play, you got dynamic post play, they defend really well. And so, I've coached against a couple national championship teams, and this team looks like those teams.
There's not going to be a whole lot of teams you guys face this year that have equal you in size. What kind of challenge is it going to be for Musa and Caleb and Tyreek?
So we recruit like we recruit. We expect to play against teams like this. So I'm excited to see them, in this challenge, to play against guys who, they got to really work. And those guys have done a really good job of, really dominating the glass on both ends, and it won't be as easy. So, great test for us. As we look at our non-conference schedule, it's all about preparing ourselves for Big 12 play, which, if anybody's paid any attention in the first 3 weeks, it's going to be a gauntlet again. And so this, a team like this will be really, really good for us to see where we are.
You mentioned Sanogo. I think at one point you guys were in his top 10 or whatever. Did you ever feel like you were close to getting him to come here?
I recruited Adama myself for a while. I think I might have been right on that one. But no, I don't know. I mean, you either get him or you don't in recruiting. So being close, we've been close on a few. It doesn't really matter when you're close. But I'm excited for him. He's having a heck of a career, and I'm not excited about having to coach against him for 40 minutes on Friday, but he's a really good player.
With the transfer portal coming in second, kind of means something now. You got PT.
Not when you like him. Those guys don't usually transfer.
Fair enough.
They transfer to Adam Silver's house.
Does that help when it comes to scouting them? I mean, you've recruited them for multiple years now.
For me, yeah. Our team's got to play, though, so it helps us put a game plan together where we feel comfortable. We know what the other team's capabilities are. But somebody's got to guard them. I don't get to do that. I'm kind of glad I don't have to do that. But some of these other guys, I wouldn't mind trying to defend, but I don't know about the 6'10", 260-pound guy.
You got Woody back now. Do you ease him back into things? Is he ready to hit the ground running? What's kind of his status?
His first day back on the court today. I'd be absolutely shocked if he played at all Thursday. So just kind of day to day, and this is as much mentally as it is physically. Obviously, being away physically is one thing. He's a young guy. He likes basketball. He's been in the gym shooting, but just making sure he's in a good place to go out there and compete. It's good to have him back though, and get him kind of back into a routine. Those type of situations are always really difficult. I'm fortunate having lost one of my parents. Hope I last. It doesn't happen, but as you would imagine, for a young guy being far away from home and not having the opportunity to spend any time with him leading up to it was really, really hard for him. So, gave him the time he needed away, and I think he feels good that he was able to mourn, fully with his mom and with his family. And now I think he's glad to be back around his teammates doing something that he enjoys.
Playing a team like UConn, is there a certain position group or player that you'll learn the most about?
No, not really. I mean, I think we'll just learn about our team. So this is it's a Big 12 type team. It'll be a Big 12 type environment, physically, and it's also an NCAA tournament team. How do we stack up against teams that they'll be relevant in March? This could be a good win for us if we get the job done.
How important is it for you guys? You've had a couple of setbacks already this year. How important is it that you do go up there and you do compete with UConn?
Yeah, man. It's not just about competing. We're going up there to win. You know, it's a hard job to do. There's no doubt. They obviously just played a team in our league and beat them. But yeah, as we look forward, not looking back, we do realize you got to take care of business in a non-conference to the best of your ability. There are a few more opportunities, down the road but this is a big game. So we need to be ready to play, and we practice like a team that's focused on getting the job done on Thursday.
The way that this broke, they brought in some transfers. How the seeding works for the Big East Big 12 battle. Do you think that needs to get re-looked at, or do you think that it just kind of is what it is?
Say that one more time.
So didn't it top teams play top teams and so on and so forth? Do you think that needs to get re-looked at, or is that just what it is?
I don't think they do it that way.
Oh, okay.
Part of it is networks drive a lot of it.
Yeah.
And so the Big East Fox gets the matchups they want for their home teams, right? The Big East teams play home games on Fox, and then most of our teams, ESPN or Plus, whatever it is. And so I think because of that, there's not necessarily a way to decide it that way. But who knows? I mean, I try not to worry about it, man. No one really gives a shit what I think anyway. So,
on those lines, the SEC challenge is going away. Any thoughts on that going away? I mean, it's a ways down the road for you guys now, but I mean.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so much of the stuff I just try not to worry about. To be honest, it's gotta play a good schedule. I'm sure we'll find a way to fill that slot with another, good opponent down the road. It's been good for us. We've been fairly successful in it. So when that time comes, we'll see how we need to adjust. But again, the decision was made. I wasn't in the meeting, and then I was called into a meeting to be told about it. So that tells you how important I am.
I tweeted out a stat that caught my eye, and people got mad at me for jinxing it. But John Michael and Caleb have yet to miss a free throw. Both
So you're gonna keep saying it?
Yeah. That'll have you. Is that something you expected? Had an eye on in the transfer portal, bringing that in, or is that more of a pleasant surprise?
Well, it's not a surprise. I expect them to make all their free throws. We practice them. They're good shooters. It's more surprising when guys who are good shooters aren't good free throw shooters, But a lot of times it's just a focus, concentration deal. So it's good. I mean, those guys are guys that'll get fouled, we'll want to have in the game late, and so having that confidence that if they did, and John Michael's been in that spot already in our DePaul game, having to close it out at the line. So it gives you a sense of comfort that you can finish games the right way and not have what happened to us against Southern Illinois happen too often.
When you're, I don't know if shopping is the right term, but when you're looking for players in the portal, how high up on your checklist of things I gotta have is good free throw shooting, or was it this offseason?
That's a good question. It may be something we need to think about more. I don't know if we think about it enough. Not that it doesn't matter. It's just usually not something that's a big conversation piece, unless it's an obvious detriment. Like, we were aware that Musa wasn't a good free throw shooter when we recruited him from Memphis, but we also saw a lot of good things that he did, and so you don't want to overlook it. You try to figure out if there's a way to improve it. Right? Does he have good mechanics? Does he work at it? Does he have a desire to get better? Does he want to be coached? And those things probably come more into play, but maybe something we need to look at. We look at 3-point percentages, we look at rebounding, but free throw percentages, maybe something we need to be more conscious of.
Do you still have the guys write their free throw routine and put it on their locker or somewhere where they?
So we haven't done that with this group yet.
Yeah.
Every team's a little different, so we'll see if that's something we need to do later.
What is something about this team that's different from other teams?
So first of all, this is probably the oldest group that I've had, and so I can coach them. For instance, the halftime the other day, with a young team, you could lose a team if you have to communicate with them the way I needed to communicate with them on Sunday at halftime, because younger people tend to take it more personal, and they want to know why you're yelling at them. And older guys can recognize coach is right, probably. We got to pick it up, get it together, and play better. And so that's one of the benefits of having an older group that you can challenge and takes ownership. And then you also don't have to hold their hands in scouting as much. So there are things you have to coach with every team, scheming and all that stuff, but some of this stuff in terms of taking care of business off the court, gives you an advantage. We have an older group of guys who've been through it before.
What do you need from this team to finish out non-conference play strong?
Maybe we got to continue to evolve offensively. I think we did a good job this past weekend of limiting our turnovers, which has always been a little bit of an issue for us. If we can continue to take care of the basketball, got to shoot the ball from three more consistently. And then we got to continue to be, as good a defensive team as there is. That's one thing that's been pretty consistent with us. And it would be great to start with a win on Thursday. Yeah.
Do you like where the direction's going with the 3-point shooting? It seems like it's kind of.
I do.
taking some steps
Part
forward.
of the issue, man, is kids are really hard on themselves. And like Avery Anderson, for example, he's up there on the list of hardest workers I've ever coached. And Thomas Azagua and Cam McGriff. There's a kid named Jack Leisure that I had at Coastal Carolina my first year. Thomas Walkup and Stephen F. Austin. Like guys that are just like warriors. Like you walk in there at 6 and hear ball bouncing, you could make a decent bet that one of those guys is the guy in there. Avery's got that same one, except he doesn't give himself the grace to overcome a slump. So he's 7, I think he's maybe 3 for 19 or something from 3 right now, I think. And I've told him he hasn't taken enough. You got to be okay going 1 for 6 sometimes. Trusting that all the work you put in, there's going to be a 4 for 6 day out there for you. I think Bryce had been struggling before Tulsa. He goes 4 for 8. It's percentage. It's early. You got to trust the long-term body work. And that's what I think we got to get to is like, we can't have 2 for 20s a lot, but we need to take 20 more than we take 5. It's the game. You got to make threes today. We need to be a team that makes 8, 9, 10 threes on average, which means you got to take sometimes 30. And you got to live with the results, but you got to be confident in the work that you put in with it.
Is that hard for you to accept sometimes you have to take 30? Because that seems.
It's easier now than it probably ever has been. And maybe because I've always been kind of a defensive-minded guy, grind it out, win the game 60 to 58 if you have to. But there's just so many more possessions, it's hard to do that. And if you don't make threes, you really put yourself at a disadvantage. So not anymore. I'd like to still have Thomas Azagua and Lenny Waters out there shooting for me. But we'll continue to recruit guys who can make them and continue to evolve as the game does.
You mentioned a bunch of stats in recruiting earlier. Are you a big advanced analytics guy?
So I'm more of a feel guy, but I do believe the numbers. I don't live and die with them, but I say this. Numbers don't always tell the whole story, but they don't lie either. There may be a little nuance to why a guy may be struggling from 3 or whatever, but a good shooter is still a guy who shoots in the mid to high 30s. That's what it is. You can't be a shooter if your shooting percentage is in the 20s. It's not a good shooter. So to that degree, yes, I do believe in the numbers, but there's some things you gotta have a feel for. Keon Williams is gonna be a good shooter. Right now, he's probably not gonna take a bunch of them. He's just finding other ways to impact the game. But I don't want him overthinking it either. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but.
Are there any like out there stats that you value highly? There's like true shooting percentage, turnovers minus steals, or whatever that one is. Anything like that?
I'll tell you the things that we put the most emphasis on. So live ball turnovers, right? Got to eliminate them. You have to convert all your fast breaks, right? And so whatever those numbers mean, if you are a team that had 12 or less turnovers, don't give up 6 threes a game, you're gonna win a lot. If you don't turn it over and you don't give up threes, you ain't losing. Now you can't go for 2 for 20. We did that, right? We defended well, and we didn't give up a bunch of easy baskets, but you can't miss all your shots. That's the ultimate equalizer in everything, right? If you don't make shots, you got no chance. So not necessarily specific to one thing, but I look at it in sections, right? There's certain things you got to do offensively. You got to get to the free throw line. You got to make your layups. So if you make your layups and free throws and you don't turn the ball over, you give yourself a chance.
I'm working on a story where I'm trying to ask as many coaches and players as possible right here about online classes versus in person and kind of what everyone takes. Do you have an idea of how it balances out on your team? What are the guys taking more in person or online?
I have no idea. I'm
No.
probably a bad answer to give, but I think part of the thing that gives me the ability to have success is have really smart people who do really good jobs of what they do around me. And our academic team doesn't need my help. You know, I actually need to stay out of the way and let them do what they've done for a long time, which is help these kids be successful in class. But that's across the board. Strength and conditioning, nutrition, you know, health-wise, the doctors we have, trainers, you know, sports information. Like, when these guys tell me that something's important, that we need to do it, and they're probably here for a reason. They know that area well, and I'll probably try to do it more than not.
I'm guessing when you were at South Carolina, there weren't even online classes.
I don't think I would like it.
Yeah.
Personally, I like people. I like people. I'm a people person. I like being around people. I like getting to know folks. And so, you know, I enjoy that process of learning. Like, I enjoy dialogue with a professor. You know, my best friend is still to this day one of my first college professors. Ended up being the guy who married my wife and I. And so, that's just me. Some guys don't like it because they can kind of manage their time on their own, right? Guys can maybe dedicate a certain amount of time to being in study hall or whatever it is where they can do academics and then be in the gym or be in the weight room or whatever it is in that case. But for me, the routine of going to class, meeting people is something I wouldn't pass up.
So you see value in your guys maybe not interacting with just their teammates, but other
There's no doubt.
regular students.
Like,
and all
there's a
that?
big world out there. I mean, you know, again, I would always encourage if I was asked, you know, if a kid came up and said, hey, do you think, get to know people, get out there. That's it, you know. You never know who you're gonna meet on this campus. And that's for any kid on any campus. I mean, all these billionaire company owners, they started in the school somewhere.
In the little bit of practice we got to watch, you asked, I think they changed substitutions, and you asked who's running point guard, and Bryce immediately raised his hand. Is that something kind of going back to he wants to be an all-around player instead of just the ISO ball scorer?
Yeah, it's part of his responsibility. The reason I asked is because when we sub, it's one of the areas the team has to grow in, is just being more consistently vocal with one another and communicating. You know, hey, I'm the point guard now. My matchup is X. You're in. We're running this on offense, and so we can be more on the same page when we go out there and execute. But for Bryce himself, it's also part of his development. You know, as he continues to progress in basketball, being a good decision maker and playmaker is going to be a part of that.
Personality-wise, whenever you were in college, where you said you're a people person, I imagine you weren't quite as out there as like Caleb or Q.
Definitely not.
Were you more like a Chris Harris type of people person?
Definitely not.
So who, if you could compare yourself to one of the guys on the team, personality-wise, where were you?
I was probably like John Michael,
Okay.
kind of unassuming, but friendly, you know. But life of the party, no, definitely not.
You just mentioned, you know, you go to Connecticut to win the game.
Sure.
What would a win against them, you know, just do for the team's confidence moving forward and everything?
Well, I would hope that it would be, you know, an understanding that they can compete with the best teams in the country. Again, I started by saying I think they're a national championship contender. You can go on the road and compete and win against that team, then I think that says something about who we are. So you got to prepare the right way, and then you got to go up there and play and understand it's not going to be easy. But we go on the road in this league 9 times, so it'll be a good kind of early test for us.
Maybe kind of show that you're a team that can compete with the top tier teams and not lose a home game to Southern Illinois.
Well, I mean, I don't think those things are mutually exclusive from one another. I think the Southern Illinois loss could be very valuable to us. And you hate to lose the game, for sure. no one likes losing. But if that loss helps us win Thursday, I never want to say I would like to take it, but I would understand that that was a good thing for us because of what it helped us become. And sometimes you got to go through some difficult moments. You got to learn through not playing well, not making good decisions, in order to get ultimately where you want to go. And so I still believe Southern Illinois is a good team. I don't think we lost to Stillwater's JV out there. And so I respect all of our opponents. And like I said, I think UConn is one of the best teams in the country, and we can go up there and compete with them. I think it says that maybe we are as well.
I know in the past you've talked about the importance of non-conference play to prepare you for Big 12 play. Is that especially more imperative now that the conference, how good the conference is, especially this year right now?
Yeah, I mean, you haven't been around here for 6 years, but this league's somehow every year I feel like it's the best league I've ever coached in, and then the next year I'm like, it can't be as good, and then it's better. And this year it looks like no different. I mean, OU won their tournament. K-State won their tournament. Iowa State played in the championship game in their tournament. I think West Virginia lost to Purdue. Kansas lost to Tennessee. Baylor's undefeated. TCU's undefeated, won their tournament.
TCU's not undefeated. TCU's not undefeated.
TCU's not. Oh no, they lost. They lost to Northwestern State. But they won their tournament, and they're still playing without starter from us. Almost Sweet 16 team. Texas is undefeated, playing really well. I think number 2 in the country. And so, and then when I think about to further point, the number 1 team in the country is about to come into the league. So I don't really know even what question you had, but the league is really, really damn good.
All right, I think we'll wrap it up there.